Thank you to Ubisoft for the code to review Star Wars Outlaws. The Division franchise, and the Division 2 especially, are one of, if not my favorite franchises in games. I got my start with the Division with content creation, with streaming, my podcast, which started off as the Echo Cast and is now the Bonfire. I got to go to E3 because of the Division before it went away. I even got to do a trip out to San Francisco to play the game early. Needless to say, Ubisoft Massive is one of my favorite studios, and I know a handful of people who work there. I say that for two reasons. One, I'm going to be biased about Star Wars Outlaws, of course. I also say it because it left me really excited to see them do something other than the Division. I want to start this conversation off by saying that I have not finished Star Wars Outlaws, therefore I don't consider this like a final review. I don't know exactly how far along I am. I believe I'm maybe 15 to 20% in. It seems like it's a rather large game, unless things happen really quickly from where I currently am. Therefore, I consider this a in-progress review, and I will basically certainly come back and do a full review once I finish the game, which I do intend on doing. Since this is just going to be a first impressions, basically, I'll try to keep it succinct, which if you have been around my channel long enough, you will know that is not exactly my strength. That said, I like this game a lot. I think it's very good. I think if you like the Ubisoft open world formula, but you have gotten tired of it, I would say this game will be nice because it definitely follows some of those kind of stereotypical Ubisoft open world features, but it does it in what I believe is an extremely refined way. I think that it's not over the top when it comes to how easy it is to find and complete like side tasks and things like that. I think that for the most part, you are rewarded for doing the little things on the side. What you're also rewarded for is the main story, which I really enjoy so far. I think K-Vess is a really fun character. You're pretty consistently meeting new people and getting involved in new situations. I don't think this is going to be a story that is necessarily going to be the next Last of Us or one of these big epic, kind of single player action adventure games. I think that we're getting a very Star Wars story. I say that affectionately. I also say it acknowledging that, the studio's previous experience has been not doing this kind of thing. And that makes me really excited for what we'll see them do in the future with what they did with Star Wars Outlaws. As for the gameplay, I think you get into a really good loop once you understand not just the controls, but the way you control K and the way things are weighted and the way that you can kind of chain together actions. You can really start to do some fun stuff. You will play this game and think that it's a heavy stealth game, and it is, but there's not much punishment for just going off. With stealth games, I am very much the gamer of, okay, I'm going to try to be stealthy, and then after I find the first guard, I set off the alarm and we're blowing everything up. And this game supports that. That said, K-Vess isn't a Jedi. She's not a superhero. She's just a human. And in much of the game, it feels like that. She's not weak, and there's definitely upgrades you can do to make her stronger through gear, through power ups and things like that. But she's not invincible. And luckily, with the checkpoint save system, I haven't run into any situations yet where it's like overly punishing and you are completely destroyed. That said, I haven't ran into any situations yet where you make a mistake and die and you lose an hour of gameplay. It's often a couple minutes at most. The worst thing often is just that you need to go and pick up any materials that maybe you grabbed since the last checkpoint. It's not the end of the world. at least so far, I haven't found myself really struggling with anything like that. When it comes to, the graphics and things like that, I'm actually playing on Xbox Series X. I'm playing on performance mode. The positives of that is that it's a pretty steady 60 from what I can tell. The frames seem very solid. The downsides, it seems like FSR, the AMD kind of DLSS frame generation equivalent, seems to be doing a lot of heavy lifting in the performance mode. And especially when you're out in the open world, it looks like it can get pretty fuzzy. It's, at least on Series X, and I assume PS5, and I assume Series S for sure, it's not going to be the looker it could be if you had a high-end PC. That said, there's still plenty of moments, especially indoors or in smaller areas, where it looks really good. I think the character designs look great. I really do like the way Kay looks, despite all of the weirdos being weirdos about her. There's a lot of really good, especially environmental building. I think that the environments in this game just look wonderful. You will notice, and maybe even in the footage I'm showing, the trees and vegetation in the wind are going real wild. Maybe dialed up a little too much on that, but me saying that is mostly being nitpicky. The environments, the sunsets, the day, the night, especially the night, just look beautiful. This engine, the Snowdrop engine, is the same one used in Division 1 and 2, as well as some other games. And it does environments so well. And what I was really impressed with Outlaws is that for the first time, Snowdrop has done good-looking humans. In the Division, humans have always been kind of rough-looking, at least in my opinion. In the Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora, humans look downright awful in that game. And so with this game, I was genuinely worried about that because that was not the strength of the engine in previous iterations. I think this game looks great. So, really impressed with that graphically. The sound design and all that is amazing. The music is so good. The sound of like the laser blasters and, the barks from enemies and NPCs sound so good. It's really great. Going back to gameplay a bit, the space stuff, I think it feels really good and is a lot of fun. It's, I don't think it's super deep, but there's probably more depth than I've experienced so far. There's upgrades for everything in this game, and the ways of getting them are fairly varied, and there's a lot of ways to do it. So without going on too long, because I'd rather save that for a podcast or a full review, I think my rating for this game out of a scale of 10 is probably going to end up being about an 8 out of 10. It could go higher, it could go lower. I'm really curious to how the game progresses and how long it feels and how it wraps up. That could help or hinder my score. When it comes to gameplay and characters and stuff like that, I think I'm good. I think I enjoy it. So I think the overall reception can be very mixed. I think that we're going to see this game probably roll in with like a Metacritic score in the mid, maybe even low 70s. We may see enough outlets have people who really love it to maybe get it a bit higher. I think it deserves around maybe a high 70s or 80, and even maybe a bit higher. We'll see. But I feel pretty safe to say that, if you watch this review and then go look at Metacritic, we're probably sitting at probably around 75. So I still think that's a good thing. A 7 out of 10 or more isn't a bad thing when you're talking about, just the different opinions and how subjective things are. I think this game's going to sell really well because I think it's a really fun Star Wars game. If I had to compare it to something else, my probably third favorite game in 2023 was Jedi Survivor. I really, really enjoyed that game a lot. And Outlaws, at least so far, gives me very similar vibes. It's a different game, but it's similar in a lot of ways too, especially the way it makes me feel, which is the good thing. So that's what I have to say about Star Wars Outlaws so far. Like I said, I do plan on following up with a full review once I finish it. I will talk about it during my podcast this week, so you can check that out on all podcast platforms. And I do plan on streaming this game a little bit over on my Twitch channel, which you can find me twitch.tv/BonDiesel. Congrats to Ubisoft Massive for putting out this really cool game, and I'm really excited to see how this influences the future of the studio. And that's kind of what I have so far. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you want more, videos and news about Star Wars Outlaws, Ubisoft Massive, or just gaming in general, consider subscribing to the channel. If you really want to support, you can become a YouTube member, get videos like this, maybe not embargoed ones, but other ones like this a bit early. And leave a comment down below. If you have any questions about Star Wars Outlaws, put them in the comments and I will answer as best I can. I believe as soon as this embargo is up, it's free reign. We can talk about whatever. So I will answer to the best of my ability if you have any questions. If you want links to all of my other content and ways to support everything I do, check out the link in the description of the video. That is all I have for this one. So until next time.